All right, hey everyone. Today I've got Enzo in the house, and I thought we would do something special. Last year, some of you might know I made a GEX wrapped 2023 document, and it has literally been 4 months since I published the document, and I haven't done a YouTube video about it. Enzo's in my house right now, and I said, you know what? Let's do the YouTube video together. But when we do the YouTube video, we can go over what has changed in the last 5 months since I wrote the document and any opinions Enzo might want to add in. Let's hop into the video. And so if you guys have been around the channel at all, you know that I like to do things in one take. I totally forgot. If you're new to the channel, my name is Eric Noslowski. I send about 3 million cold emails a month on behalf of our customers. We're certified by SmartLeave. The founder has told us that we are in the top 4, sometimes top 3 of all the people who get responses on the platform. And we're going to go through a document I created that is literally 120 pages long about outbound email. We'll see if we have any changes. Enzo is going to give his own opinions and see if we agree and disagree or add any insights as well. I have a lot of respect for Enzo and the outbound campaigns that he runs. I fully admit I think Enzo is a better copywriter than I am. And I just want to let him intro himself a little bit. But so, Enzo, anything you want to say?
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Enzo. I'm the founder and CEO of C17 Lab. We're an outbound agency doing cold email, cold calling, sometimes even direct mail. My track record is not as good as Eric, so he's the guy, of course. But yeah, we also smart lead enterprise partner, working with Instantly and all the great tools out there. So yeah, super excited to dig into the GX Wrapped for 2024 and tell you everything that changed since then.
Perfect. And so if you haven't seen this doc before, basically every year I find it fun to just write out as much as I know about outbound as I possibly can. Lead Gen J has already done a review of this doc, which I really appreciated, but we've never done a review, and I wanted to get to it. And with Enzo in the house, I wanted to make sure we hammer it. So this part is just a preamble about just what we're going to cover. In my opinion, I feel like the scope of this document is everything that has to do with coming up with an outbound idea and then getting a positive response. So that includes setting up your email infrastructure, building your list, and then your campaign copywriting, your strategy, and using Clay on top of that. Last year I made this doc and people were asking, well, what do you do after a positive response? It's like, that's not the scope of this document, so I apologize. So we're going to focus on email deliverability, list building, campaign strategy, and copywriting. This is just some social proof. Last year, Smart Lead is really hard to figure out how many positive responses you've actually generated. So I think we did 10,000, but if you reach out to Vaibhav, he will confirm that we're getting, the top amount of replies from people. I have this plaque from Instantly saying that we've generated 5,000 leads on the platform. We are a smart lead shop, as you might know. I love the Instantly people. There's only a couple of reasons for that. If you're a beginner, I would say go use Instantly. And if you need more custom things, use Smart Lead. I do the outbound for Instantly.ai. So we generated 5,000 verified leads for Instantly.ai. And that's just that account. It's not shared with other customers. So that's how we got that plaque. And these are just some other social proof things that nobody cares about. And you can see the doc yourself if you like. So the first thing, Enzo, that I started this doc with was an outbound too long didn't read, because I knew when I made this that I was going to write a substantial amount of pages. I didn't know it'd get to 120 pages, but it was going to be a lot. So I wanted to start the whole thing with 101 level. I believe that if you just get an Instantly or Smart Lead account, you buy inboxes through a done for you setup, you listen to the guidelines on the platform of their warming. Apollo.io is probably a really great place to just initially pull lists from. We use Apollo in conjunction with Clay a ton, but there's also tons of tools that you could use for email enrichment as well, including Prospeo, Lead Magic, TriKit, ICPs, and all those things in Clay. Verify those leads with a third-party tool. All of them are basically the same. Just pick your favorite based on price. And then when writing emails, keep it shorter than 100 words. First sentence, why are you reaching out and why now? Explain how you help. Third sentence, show social proof. Fourth sentence, call to action. And then we can get into a little bit of things here. Is there anything that if you were to add to I want to start an outbound campaign, I'm a beginner, this is my checklist. Is there anything else you would add to this checklist here?
No, I think you cover pretty much everything. All the tools pretty straightforward. I think there's everything, all the basics, all the basic tools you need to get things done. Obviously, yeah, you can get some level of personalization if you want some ChatGPT and stuff. So customize a couple of stuff. But other than that, you have everything you need to get started.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. And so then this is just going over email deliverability 101. It says we managed 51,000 inboxes. At this time, we've managed 73,000 inboxes. So it's actually higher than that now. But anyway, we're basically using Google accounts and then hypertight accounts as well. That is still true. I hit here about how every piece of advice I'm going to give you on inbox deliverability stems from what do spammers do and how can I do the opposite of that.
Super true.
That's still the way that I think about this framework as well. We're still sending 30 to 50 emails per day per inbox. When we're using Hypertide, we're sending 2 emails per day. So that's still the same thing. Why do
I do way lower than that.
What?
I do 15 emails per inbox.
15 emails per inbox?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay.
go really, really, really low.
What made you decide to go to 15 emails per inbox?
It is dumb thing is that when was the last time you sent 15 emails in a single day?
Never. Yeah, but I went to 30 and I saw it was all fine.
No, but when you do it manually yourself, never. So my idea is like, when was the last time you human actually sent 50 emails a day? And I'm trying to think on the email service provider side. Can a human send 15 emails a day? Most likely. How often an email send 30 or 50 emails a day? Never.
Yeah.
And the way I'm thinking about this is like, I'm trying to replicate human behavior as close as possible. And that's why I'm trying to stay below 15.
Was there ever a time that you were sending something more like 30 to 50?
Yes, back in the day, but like I feel that my inbox health just lasts longer when I'm around the 10 to 15 threshold.
Really? Okay, that's interesting. Okay, well, I really like that. All right, cool. So one thing that I put in the doc is that we set up 2 inboxes on each domain.
Yeah.
And I even put a disclosure here. Why do we put 2 inboxes versus 3? I don't think it really matters that much. If you wanted to put 3 on, I have no scientific proof to show that 2 versus 3 is better. But I know that putting 10 inboxes on one domain is just too risky. So would you?
2. I do 2 as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So we're using Smart Lead and Instantly for all of them. Recently, big platforms have also come out trying to kind of try to disrupt them. I have not moved yet since the writing of this, so we're still using Smart Lead and Instantly. I know you're doing something. If you want to explain what you're doing across all the platforms.
Yeah. My idea is that all platforms are great. I love Smart Lead. I love Instantly. I love Email Bison. But I cannot explain. There's some type of seasonality between platforms. Sometimes, some of them are the same lead list, the same copy, the same data sources, everything the same. One would outperform one by another. I cannot explain why. And also, some platforms tend to have, some time out of the year where they're not performing really well. They have 10 bugs. And what I do is I split my inboxes through all the platforms, which means that at any given point, if a platform is shitting the bed, I can just, keep sending in another platform. Or just like moving really fast. And my idea is that I'm never dependent on one single platform, and I can be really agile and really speedy in my way of moving through.
So it's not like you're sending emails every day from all 3. You're just uploading the inboxes. So if the day comes that you need to switch,
I'm just like I get it right away.
And I think that's really good. One thing here is, So I put in here, why doesn't Google and Outlook just ban you from cold email altogether? And I made some assumptions about why they're not banning you. Basically, I thought there might be a profit incentive, and you can't make a spam filter so tight that regular users are affected.
Yep.
I actually was speaking to somebody who is connected to a Google account manager, and since writing this, they actually told me that as far as they could tell with the Google spam team, they are much more concerned with phishing attacks than they are with cold email. And that's why I think there's a lot more longevity on cold email and the way that Google and Outlook will clamp down on things than I thought there was, because they know about cold email. They know that it's happening. They know that all these platforms exist, but phishing is the real problem that they want to stop. And when you think back of any update that they've made, it all is usually around, blocking phishing as well as cold emails. And so that really made me think, okay, there's a lot more longevity on this than I originally thought. I also, at one point, had the opportunity to do a 30-minute kind of free consulting call with the Google Ads team in the United Kingdom. And when they started the call, this was like 2 years ago, but when they started the call, I kind of went on and I was like, okay, are you guys just asking me questions so that you could go tell the spam team about what we do so that you heard it straight from me? And they're like, no, we hate the spam team. We can't get our emails delivered to sell Google Ads in the United Kingdom. And so even them, they're having them. Yeah. And so they were asking for our opinions on it. And so that even the fact that they're doing those cold emails, I think that there's cold email is here to stay much longer than I thought. I hope this gives some confidence for people. It's the phishing that they're really going after.
I think your point 2 is probably the most important point that you put out there, is that no matter even though they care about us, you cannot make it so hard that it's impossible for regular people to send emails.
Yes, exactly.
And that's why I think the key to winning cold emails is, yes, your offer is everything, but are you writing like another human is writing? And
Yes.
that will allow you to get through all the spam filter you need to go through, in my opinion.
Yes. Yep. I totally agree with that. So a lot of this is just in the weeds stuff. In my previous video when we made this, it was pretty in the weeds, but we don't have to bore everybody with that. We can just keep going. So with list building 101, the main thing that I basically said here is all these platforms are getting their data from LinkedIn. You're essentially just buying a LinkedIn scraper. Whenever you're buying any of these platforms, they'll find their emails, but you need to have some other platforms to try to find more emails from that. We're still to this day using all of these.
Yeah.
So this still makes a lot of sense for me. Basically, what I wanted to get across here was how lists were essentially made. Because sometimes people will come to us and they'll say, well, how do you not have a list of every naturopathic doctor, and their email address? I'm like, well, they don't have LinkedIn profiles. Like that's the tough part, right?
That is a big tough part.
Yeah.
As well, tell you on the tools like Prosper, like Top Dogs, Lead Magic as well, ICP as well. The nuance that I'm saying, and I don't know, do you have a lot of European customers?
No, not really.
You will figure out that the tools actually have different coverage based on geographies as well.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So I tend to figure out that certain email provider works better on European like data set versus the one that we tend to use in the United States. That's something very interesting that I'm seeing across.
I wonder why that is, because I don't think this is a secret. A lot of these email providers are either getting their data from someplace of somebody else's, probably you signed in your terms and conditions that they can see your CRM data. And if you have a Chrome extension, a lot of times they'll read your emails and try to get the signature data out of the emails. And so a lot of them are either doing that or they're just straight up guessing emails. If you were to add Eric1@growthenginex.com, you'll never be able to have an email provider that guesses that. So I wonder why in Europe it's different, because a lot of this is still just a lot of guessing or like CRM importing.
Two things. I think there's when we talked about it on the car the other day. A lot of them are white labeling or the tools.
Yeah.
But also I think as well, there's one that's you have tree infrastructures. Until that I know are the one that have really, really strong in tree infrastructure, know the way they do things. I said that I don't really know.
Yeah, interesting. Okay. So we're using Dbounce right now. I will say that they haven't really been accepting customers, and so we are trying to get off of Dbounce. The real reason I actually want to get off of Dbounce isn't even like a validation problem. They just don't allow for auto billing, so then I have to manually update it for the credits. Yeah, I don't know why they do that. So we're probably getting off of Dbounce pretty soon. Copywriting, these are some people that I would just shout out as really great copywriters. I say this a lot of times when I make YouTube videos. I feel like I love the inbox deliverability stuff, and I love the list building stuff, and I love the clay building stuff. I do not try to say I am any kind of master copywriter, so I shout out these people. Elise is on my team. She's one of the greatest copywriters I've ever seen. I was seeing Enzo's copy.
Should be able to know Elise.
Yeah, you should. Yeah. I've been seeing Enzo's copy, and I really think he's a creative angle, and I think he'll really help on a lot of campaign strategies. This is just a general framework that we follow that, like, maybe you have a different email, but if you've never written a cold email before, this is probably a really easy way to just think about the email. Is there anything you think through?
I think this is probably the best. We still following similar framework. The idea to me is like how the line that I'm writing is connecting to the next line, and the idea is like how the first line you're writing make them want to read the next line.
Ooh.
And make them want to read the next line.
Yeah.
So all the way to build up to the tier.
Yes.
Boom.
Was that David Ogilvy who said that? I forget. I'm putting myself out there. But yeah, it's absolutely.
It's probably him actually.
Yeah. It's like the first line, your headline should sell the subline, and then it should sell the first line. Yeah. All right. So then for the rest of the document, like I said, we jump really deep into everything because I wanted people to just be able to just say, okay, I want a quick start. I just want to start sending emails. This is where we're going to start getting a little crazy. All right. So for one thing, I really wonder if you experienced this too. I'll never forget this. May 1st is my birthday. And on May 1st of 2024, we lost like 7,000 inboxes or something. Maybe I even put it in here. We lost 7,000 inboxes or something crazy in one day. And it was just bad. Yeah, there was a huge Outlook crisis in 2024. And some other changes that I saw was in the beginning of 2024, it felt like if you burned a domain and you warmed it up for a month, you could use it again.
Yeah.
I don't think you could use it anymore. No. So, okay, I would agree with that. And then in June of 2024, after the Outlook crisis of all the inboxes getting banned, and July of 2024, I wasn't even sure if we'd have a business because I had some campaigns that were ripping and we were getting great deliverability, and then we just dropped off. And I had a bunch of I think I had 5 or 6 customers that we onboarded, and none of their campaigns were working because we couldn't get the deliverability right. And so I don't know. Do you remember back in 2024 anything like that?
May and October are like 2 months for me that was like something is happening.
Yeah.
May was obviously the Outlook crisis, and October is the time that I was able to put on a map where it was really hard to get to 5% reply rate.
Yes.
That was the day 5% reply rate was not, well, it's still a thing, but not as common.
Yeah.
Before I was like, oh, can I get 12? Can I be 8? But then by going by 5 is really.
What's the reply rate now that if you're it's below this reply rate, we need to shut off this campaign?
Below 1%.
Okay, I think we're on line.
Yeah, I think
also, whenever we say these things, it's also I know some people who are selling chocolate to B2B companies and they're getting 6% reply rate because they're saying we'll give you free chocolate. It's this also changes amongst industries a ton.
And big thing, we're talking about targeting the US market right now.
That's
in an English language.
That's true. That's true.
European, we can get to 12% in local languages, and they cannot even imagine where we're able to say in English. People when we're sending cold emails there, they're losing their mind. It's insane. But we're talking about US market, North America, targeting B2B customers of companies, B2B SaaS. Even I'll tell you, local-based businesses, I can get a 5-6%.
Yeah, because they're not
any day of the week.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. Basically, I just go over here that what we started doing was we just created batches of inboxes that we wouldn't touch because we just wanted to diversify a little bit more. I know you do that as well. Google inboxes versus hypertied inboxes. Whoa, little mistake there. So far, we just have Google inboxes because we scale a lot more volume on the Google inboxes. I've never had a problem with hypertied inboxes. I don't know if there's anything you want to say.
I mean, number that works great. Google is just for me, it's always the foundation of everything you do.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're the biggest market share over there. You need to have the Google inboxes.
Yeah. Taylor Horan, shout out to Taylor. We both actually, the amount of times that we've talked about Taylor and he's not even here is a lot during this weekend. So shout out to him. He actually ran a test that I think everybody should just see because sometimes people will sign up and they'll say, "Oh, we're having a problem with hypertied," and I'm just I'm so sorry. I don't know what to tell you because I'm using it. Taylor has this deliverability testing on it. I'm sorry. This is just the way that it is. All right. So email deliverability stuff, ESP matching. This is when you send Google inboxes send to Google inboxes and Outlook inboxes send to Outlook inboxes. At the time, I was saying that this isn't that important. Since then, there's been a lot of Outlook problems, and I don't know. We still don't really do ESP matching. Really? Do you do any ESP matching?
The numbers that I'm seeing are not relevant enough where I can justify an SOP oh, we need to do that.
It just adds complexity.
Yeah, it's just
even hypertied, they'll say don't ESP match Outlook to Outlook on the hypertied inboxes. It needs to have a pool of the sending. And I have heard anecdotally that people are saying the deliverability is better from Outlook to Outlook. I'm sure some people in the comments are going to have opinions on this. This ultimately is not something I even people DM me all the time and they say, "What are you doing about Outlook?" And we're really not doing anything about it. To be quite frank, I don't even really think about this that often.
I don't think about email deliverability so hard because I'm the way I have to think about it is what do I have control over?
Yes.
My control over is my copy is just feels like a human wrote it. Do I'm sending a volume where you could imagine a human would send that manually? Hey, do I have a great offer? Am I segmenting my list really well? Do I have the signals that let me know that when I'm sending to the email to that person, with that offer a personalization, it would generate the potential interest? That I have a lot of control over. And I feel that if I'm stacking those together, ultimately my deliverability will be better because people will respond to me, sometimes positively, sometimes maybe less negatively. Even when they respond negatively, it's still good for my deliverability overall. And that's the thing that I like to have control over. Deliverability, whether all the things that we're going to do, yes, that's super important, but is the fundamental done really well?
Yeah.
And that's why I think that can have control.
Yeah, I tell everybody that the only thing that matters is how often people mark you as spam. You can probably so a Google inbox can actually send 2,000 emails a day. That's the actual limit that it can send. And if no one was ever marking you as spam, it'd be fine. But that's just
the best cold email in the world.
Yeah. And but people, no matter how your email is, somebody's going to mark you as spam. Spin tax, we actually don't use a whole lot of spin tax.
Really?
Growth Engine X. No, unless you're sending over like 1,000 emails a day on a campaign, we don't spin tax it. But we're also using at minimum an AI generated first line and an AI generated third line. And then the first line of the second email is AI generated as well too. So we are getting that variation of the copy.
Yeah.
But I don't, unless you're going over 1,000 emails of the same copy, we don't spin tax it.
Yeah, okay. No, for sure. That makes sense.
Domain masking, I personally think that this is a fugazi. So domain masking, if you haven't heard about it, is basically, so when we send these emails, we're sending growthenginex.com, and then we're buying gogrowthenginex.com, and then we're sending from gogrowthenginex.com because there's a separate reputation on this one. Then we will forward the website, because there's no website here, we'll forward it to growthenginex.com. So this domain masking idea is this idea that, oh, hey, you want to send it all to a different website because Google isn't stupid, and they'll see if you start getting marked on spam and all this is forwarding to your website, then they're going to hunt you down and they're going to ruin your deliverability on your main website, and it's all going to be for nothing. One, I've never seen that actually play out for any of our customers. That's never been a thing. And two, if that were also true, I'm going to close my agency and I'm going to start a business where what we're going to do is I'm going to go to HubSpot. I'm going to say, hey, let's ruin Salesforce's deliverability and then buy domains that look like Salesforce and then try to sell Bitcoin over cold email and ruin Salesforce's email deliverability so they can't communicate with customers. Great business model.
Yeah.
That would be great. If that were true. And so I don't think domain masking is really a thing.
No, I don't think either.
Okay, cool. We agree on that. So spam tests like block apps or smart delivery. Okay, so I only use this directionally to know, do I think we're landing in spam? Do I think we're landing in inbox? I only use it as a signal. I don't trust it 100%. I talk about why, but what do you think?
Something like it's a direction. If I say, hey, all the landing in spam, I'm like, I'm probably landing.
Yeah, probably landing.
If I'm getting like most of them getting 100%, right? Oh, okay. I'm gonna look somewhere else.
Yeah,
but fundamentally, why are you not getting a response? The inbox are cooked. The copy sucks. You're not sending enough volumes, or you're targeting the wrong people.
Yeah.
That can only be that. So from there,
and I would agree with that. And so the thing of the inbox placement test is, one, if you're landing in spam a little bit, you're definitely landing in spam far more than you think. Like if the inbox placement test says you land in spam, you're definitely landing in spam. But if you are landing in the inbox and you still think that there's a problem, what are you going to do? You're going to have to set up more domains and inboxes. That's why we just default setting up more domains and inboxes, because you just can't trust it. All this stuff you can read. This is nerd stuff. Don't worry about it. Lessons from bounces. If your bounce rate really increases, see if there's a status code 550 error and it's a spam one.
What is the bounce rate that you take action versus the one that you don't take action?
So when we were having so many Outlook problems, I was like, oh my gosh, I know you guys are going to think it's crazy, but this whole channel is about transparency. I was like, oh my God, we're having so many Outlook problems. We have to find 4% is an acceptable bounce rate. Because at one point in 2024, it was insane. It was like, I felt like every campaign I launched was having heavy bounces. And then when we figured out the Outlook problem now, and with Instantly AI's email verification, now a lot of our campaigns are at like 0.5.
Yeah, I'm below 1% as well.
Yeah. So I'm just full transparency. It was like, oh my God, this is so crazy, but we're still getting responses even with a 5% bounce rate. But I was like, oh man, we're absolutely cooked right now. This is so terrible. So then I would still say under 2% is like what you should really be striving for. But now for the big change was Instantly's verification, because I just like the way that they have their underlying data set up. So yeah. Inbox volume test. Okay, so I just ran a test. I had a friend who wanted to use one of our internal domains, and they wanted to send out 1,000 emails from one domain on one inbox, and it was to a list of people who had all opted in for the messages. So we made the subject line, even though the domain wasn't the same, we made the subject line the same company name. There was an event coming up, and then all of the copy was like that it was coming from the company. We did an inbox test before we ran it, and I sent emails to myself. And then we ran it, and we sent 1,000 emails in one day from one inbox. And then the next day, I sent emails to myself and to emails that had never received an email, and they all landed in the inbox. It just further proved my, like, nobody marks you as spam. You're good, and that's the biggest thing that matters for anything.
That's interesting.
Warm up copy, OAuth masking. All right, so domain age I think is important. So we just had a customer that I hope I hope we'll be able to talk about one day. We just got them their first 5 leads or something this week, but the first week that we launched, we were basically getting a 10% reply rate, and it was looking really, really bad. And they're targeting companies with over 5,000 employees. And so, yeah. And so the only difference that happened in their campaigns, because we didn't even get a chance to rewrite the campaigns by that point, because quite frankly, they take forever to approve copy. But the only thing that happened was we always keep batches of inboxes. So in some inboxes aged for like 6 weeks before we use them. And then we use those, and then we immediately start getting, I think actually we started getting a 2.12% reply rate the last time I checked. And we generated their first leads. And so it just made me think like, oh, when you're trying to go to these spam filters at these larger enterprise companies, domain age is really important. Yeah. So there's that.
On the other hand, do you believe that the branded domains actually matter? People actually respond. Okay.
Are you saying this because of how passionately I feel about this? Do you know how passionate I am?
I know, but at the same time, I'm starting to believe there's something you do where like nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
So I can't talk about I'm allowed to talk about this company one-on-one, but I'm not. I have an NDA publicly, so I can't say the company. But there is a company that everybody has heard of, and we send emails, and their domain is 6 letters long, and we're sending emails from domains that are like 30 letters long, and it is like, and we still get positive responses every day.
But do you have the name of the domain, the name of the company?
Yes. So we have the name of the company in the domain. But the other thing that we were kind of doing this back when I wrote this doc, but now we're going all in on it, is we started launching free tests for people, which I can talk about why. Well, I'm not going to talk about why on this video, but we started launching free tests for people. And so we'll send from a fake woman's name who has no LinkedIn profile, and it's from a domain that doesn't point anywhere, and it's something super generic like growthsaassolutions.co or something like that. We will launch from those domains, and we do not find, so we'll send about 1,000 emails, and if we get less than 2 leads for somebody or 2 leads or below, I don't expect them to work with us, and we're using the free test as the main qualifier for us. We get leads for people all the time, and the domains don't point anywhere. The domains don't have the name of the company in them or anything. Oh yeah, and we from those free tests we just do it. And the only, I mean, when they become a customer, of course we put the name of their company there, we forward there, and we do all those other things. But I know you can get responses and not even have the website point anywhere.
So I have a question to you. Would you think there's, and on that specific test that you're doing, and I'm really interested because I think this is a really good lead magnet, but do you think there's differences in the response rate you're getting based on the sophistication of the people you're trying to reach out to versus like if you're trying to reach out to roofers or HVAC, I'm assuming you get probably nobody would care, would look at the domain. If you're reaching out to B2B SaaS somehow like with some kind of sophistication, those guys will respond less because they're not able to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
What do you do at the signature, by the way?
The signature is just straight up just the name, and it just says the name of the inbox, and then it says New York, New York. We don't do anything else with the signature.
Okay.
So I don't know, because we've proven enough times. I had one person who was contacting B2B SaaS founders, and they only wanted to contact B2B SaaS founders with over 50,000 website visitors because of their
good traffic.
Yeah. They had an offer where they were basically, there's SEO and then there's AI. I don't know. Like typing, shout out, if you type into ChatGPT and you say, how do you use Clay.com to scrape Google Maps, my video will pop up. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, how can you optimize the AI search? So AI search engine, I don't know, something like that. That's what they do. We ran a free test for them. We only had to send 600 emails before we got the 2 positive responses that were.
So it doesn't really matter.
So and then also, we will also run the free test. And then when they have their branded domains, the free test is pretty dang close to the branded domain test as well too. I think people care way more about the offer in the email than where it's coming from. Does it make sense that you should be sending from branded domains? Yes. Like, I am not suggesting that people just spin up a bunch of generic domains and then they run those for the rest of their lives. It's so easy and it costs the same to put your brand in there. But if you're somebody who's really nervous and you don't want to buy the domains because you're not sure what's going to happen, this, that, and the other thing, it's going to be fine. All right, so now we're in the list building section. I created a whole data pipeline procedure that I think everybody should check out that uses Clay, and it's got a bunch of other stuff in here. I just want to talk about email waterfalling. How many providers do you have in your email waterfall?
Too many. I feel like 4 to 5, like Prospero, ICP, Lead Magics, Enro.
Oh, you have Enro in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You're French
people, you know.
Yeah, you're bougie. Yeah.
I mean, Prospero, ICP, and Enro, they're all French. So
Yes.
We do your things, I guess. And Lead Magic as well. And that's pretty much it. I think those guys get most coverage. Sometimes when there's industries that have like really bad coverage or like really difficult to get, I'll throw a Visa in there. I'll throw like probably an intern in there, but like it's really occasional. Like it's not systematic. But yeah, most of those guys will get it from
absolutely.
the Magic process.
And so, now I have an opinion on this, but I wonder what you think. Why not? Because a lot of these only charge you for a valid email address. So why not run 8 of them instead of 4?
Because then you will get a subscription for all of them.
Well, then you got to get a subscription for all of them. The other thing is it, in my opinion, a lot of the sauce of these companies is pretty similar. And so you want to diversify because they do have their differences. But at one point, you're just like, the squeeze that you're going to get for having all those subscriptions and everything is not going to pan out, because if it's a catch-all domain, like there's usually not a lot of things that people can do about the catch-all domain. And so I think at a certain point, you're just checking so many things, and then the juice you're going to get from that is going to be so small.
The first 5 that we talk about going to give you what? 50% of it, 40, 50%, 60%, depending on type of leads going after. You're going to have 2, 3 or more. You're going to squeeze probably 1%, 2%. It's not worth it.
Yeah. And so the rest of this is just stuff that I think you can read. I don't think there's going to be any comments on it. I had a whole section on here on what's the deal with Clay.com. And I hear all the time, still to this day, even though we're both Clay enterprise partners, we were just at a Clay partner event. That's why we're together. And, there's still people who come to me and they say, okay, do I really have to be using Clay.com? And I always tell them, it's like, look, you're going to run an email campaign, right? I know you're going to download a list, and then you're going to take that CSV file and you're going to upload it to a tool that's going to verify them. And then you have to wait for it to verify. And then you're going to download that verification list and you're going to upload it to another list to try to find more emails. And you're going to wait for that to happen. And then you're going to download that list and then you're going to upload it to GPT for Sheets to write your first line or whatever you're going to do. And so then it's like, yeah, I'm going to do all those things. It's like, all right, Clay, at bare minimum, just streamlines that entire process. And so is there anything else you would say is like a simple workflow that people should be using in Clay that, if they're like, oh, I'm not sure if I should get started with Clay, is there another example that you would give them?
I mean, of course, we can, signal and intent is always this question, what is real signal, what is intent? We can just discuss and argue what's signal and intent. What I like to do is understand, the offer is everything. And that's what we're dealing with. Hey, how do I make sure somebody do not tag me as a spam? And for me, getting intent or some type of intent signals about the company has an actual problem. I'll give you an example that I'm using a lot because I have a client that, when the company seems to have really bad review, I want to target companies that would need a 3PL provider. If I'm able to figure out which company stands on 50% of all the negative reviews regarding logistics, shipping, and everything, well, I'm assuming that my list is going to get better and probably going to get more response versus if I'm not doing it. So that's in the cases where you would want to use Clay. How can you make sure that all what you're doing and building those lists are actually for something and we get a positive response? And I'm using Clay as this brain that would just confirm the assumption that I'm going with for my client. Oh, hey, this is the people we should reach out to because of this reason. Otherwise, well, there's 300 million LinkedIn profile there. We'll be spending days figuring out where you want to send to.
And Clay is really just the workflow layer, because you could do the Google review thing in a different place, but then you'd have to use Appify and then dump it someplace and then AI analyze it in the dump and then upload it someplace else. It would just get
And also it would break all those automation because you need to do at scale. It would break. This thing works on Clay, use Clay.
Yeah. And so for anybody watching, I have a tutorial for Clay.com that, again, shout out to Google. If you search tutorial for Clay.com, this video is the first thing that'll pop up. Beating Clay's SEO, shout out. This is just an exercise. I know, right? Yeah. This is just some exercises of just crawl, walk, run that you should get into. Okay, campaign strategy. I was thinking about this and I wanted to ask you, and I was like, oh, we'll wait for the campaign strategy part. How often do you think that triggers and signals matter more than the offer?
I don't think it's either. I think it's all content. But I'll tell you, the offer is everything in my opinion.
Yes.
The offer is the thing, because here's the thing. When I offer people, hey, do you want me to run a free lead generation cold email campaign for you for free. Like, I'm not sure. I don't care about the trigger or that. Somebody goes, sure. If I want to say that.
Yes.
That is like, and even those guys that are following instantly or following on like smartly or following Clay. Hey, anybody, do you want us to run a cold email campaign for you? Oh, sure, for free, of course.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, the offer is always king. The trigger and intent is just like why you should prioritize those leads versus any other else. That's just how I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, and so I even was in my head, my gut reaction was the offer matters more, and then you said the 3PL example, I was like, oh yeah, that's true. So I feel like sometimes people get bogged down with signals to the point where they're trying to get way too fancy, and just improving their offer would make a bigger difference. I think from a prioritization standpoint, if you can find store or like CPG brands that are having logistics problems in their reviews and things aren't showing up on time, that is absolutely what you should be leading with in the cold email. Because with campaign strategy, anytime you automate anything, I say it all the time, you should think about what you would research about a prospect for 10 minutes and then work backwards from that and automate that. You shouldn't be doing just fancy things that you see on LinkedIn, even though they look fun. And so that is a perfect example of that. And then
that gives you the copy also.
And then it gives you the copy. The copy basically writes itself. But then there's going to be people who maybe don't have reviews that you can find, and they might have logistics problems, and you still want to email those people. And then you just want to just put best foot forward with the best email that you can. And it just doesn't necessarily have a signal, but then the offer just like really matters beyond that as well too.
100%.
Yeah. All right. So what did I put here? The most sector. Oh, okay. So for success, obviously for outbound campaigns, it's close revenue. Nothing else matters. The only thing is we both run agencies, and that's just tough. Like, we get you the positive responses. Then if we were totally in control of the revenue, then I might as well, run your business and go become your VP of sales. So I know I just wanted to put in here that, of course, closed revenue is the only thing. But the three things that you need to solve for first is like, how can we get people to respond? Then how can we get people to book meetings? And then how can we convert them to customers? I have a quick thing that I want to go through on this. And so my opinion is that there are outbound agencies out there, and I'm calling them out right now because I think they're lying. There are outbound agencies who are out there who are saying, oh, it's going to take 6 months for outbound to work.
Okay.
And then I always say to that, it's like, well, no, you really should be able to tell if an outbound campaign is going to work within the first 1 to 3 campaigns as far as positive replies. You should not take 6 months to try to crack something on and take 6 months just to get positive replies. So the only time that we've launched a campaign, the first thing didn't work, and then we cracked something 4 or 5 or 6 campaigns deep, is when we radically changed the list or we radically changed the way that we were positioning the offer. Would you agree with that as well?
I agree 100%. I think, honestly, get positive reply. Like, if inside 1 month you're not getting a result, and that you're working with a partner that is like actively trying, I'm getting worried.
Yeah. And so then that's why all of our agreements are month to month, because I actually think that at one point, then the agency that you're working with is then just going to do copywriting that you tell them to write, and they're just going to regurgitate, and you should probably just take the infrastructure and try some things yourselves, but that's neither here nor there at this point. So I think you should be able to get people to respond pretty quickly. Otherwise, you need to radically change the list you're targeting and the way that you're positioning your value proposition or the way that you're creating your offer. And a lot of times people come to us and they'll say, well, people are coming inbound, so we know that our offer works. That's fine. A lot of times you need to create an offer that's created for cold traffic to get them to convert.
Yeah.
So I think ListKit and those guys do a great job of this, to just not even take an example of one that we built, where they really have Client Ascension, they have ListKit, they have everything, but they sell this done for you, cold email setup that's, I think, $1,000 or $1,500. And so it's really easy to say yes to. You just get the infrastructure in your hands. It's just really to go. And then they upsell people from there. I think if they were to try to run ads at the upsells that they have after that offer, would be really difficult. But the fact that they have this thing that they could liquidate the ad spend on immediately and then get something into something really easy is a really good idea. And so you're actually really, really great about this, and we should probably take a pit stop now. But I think that, yes, what you were saying, if I were to cold email somebody and say, hey, we can get you leads. Do you want leads? Let's talk. That's not going to have as high of a response rate of, we will launch an ad campaign for you for free, of course. But so when you're working with a customer and they don't have that front end offer ready to go, how do you think about helping them do that? And I can even start thinking about a company if you need an example of somebody we could try to make one for that's not neither of our customers.
I think there's a couple of principles I'm trying to follow all the time, which means that What can I say that nobody else in your market can say?
Yeah.
And what
Yes.
can you provide that no one in your competitor is willing to provide?
Yeah.
Let's start from that. And you're gonna tell me what you're willing to do. I'll tell you what I think would work well, and we can like work from that. But I think that the first thing is how we can get people to respond. There's only one answer: provide more value than anybody else.
Yes.
That's how you win. This is, in my opinion, that's how you win. There's nothing magical about it. There's no way. Of course, there's like some infrastructure and some secret sauce. Follow Eric on YouTube. But at the end and the core of everything is provide more value than anybody else in the marketplace, and you're gonna win.
Yeah.
Now, are you ready to get your hand dirty? And that's what I'm making that commitment with my partners when they jump on. Hey, we're gonna build this segment together. We're gonna design something, but you have to bring to work with me. I'm making this happen, and I think when you're able to get partner to be willing to commit to that, you're gonna be able to create great things. But yeah, you have to bring value to anybody else.
Yeah, and sometimes lead magnets cost money, and then people will be like, "But what if like it doesn't work out?" And so then, what do you say to that?
Where's the customer acquisition? Like, that's simple. Like, hey, if the lifetime value is $30,000, if that takes $500 to create, is it worth it?
Yes.
Probably.
Yeah.
You know,
because when we launch campaigns for people for free, that is not free for us. Like we have costs now. We're trying to streamline it and everything, but that has actual costs for us. And so, anyway, so I'm not sure if there's something that we talked about that I really like that you talked about, and you could bring it up after if you feel like you want to publicly talk about it. But the other thing I just wanted to touch on is you said that you wanted it to be valuable, and so sometimes people are like, "Well, our webinar is valuable." It's like, okay, maybe, like, and so Hormozy has a great framework around this, where it's just okay. Do the prospects know that somebody else in the marketplace is charging for the thing that you're offering? And that's a great way to cut of a lead magnet. Yeah.
what thing do you want me to talk about? The framework thing?
Yeah.
Well, I don't mind. I can tell you.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That's not.
I loved it. Yeah, I thought it was so good.
And you know what? You're getting exclusive live, but I think I'm gonna make a
They're
video.
also they're 40 minutes in, so anybody who makes it this far,
You know what?
it's gonna be a real one.
40 minutes in, you can DM me framework. I will help you with whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
To see if you did it. It's I think when it comes to lead magnet, it's most of the time how you framing things, how you positioning things. People will be surprised. My lead magnets could be also like created by my partner, but it's also how I'm framing my CTA. And I was giving him an example. Oh, a lot of people like to do. Oh, can I send you a case study and like.
Or they will say in their email, "This is the case study that we achieved with the customer."
Yeah. And I think this is really lame because you talk about somebody else and nobody cares about other people. They only care about themselves. So the way I'm using the case study thing is something, hey, can I send you the case study? Or this is the case study we got. I'm like, hey, I'm switching it up. Hey, can I send you the framework we used to make this happen?
Or we discuss the framework?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I walk you through the framework we used to make it? So if I tell somebody, hey, do you want me to show? Can I send you the case study we used to get 239 leads to growthenginex.com versus say, can I walk you through the framework we use 239 leads to growthenginex.com? It's different because frameworks means that there's a system. There's something that I can learn from. The case study from guys is cool that you did from those guys is cool, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be usable or valuable for me. When I use it out, can I send you the framework? That underline there's a system, there's a method that I'm going to be able to learn from that, and that probably going to be useful to me. And that's slight change in how you're framing your CTA. For me, I still consider it a lead magnet. And how you do this, like, well, it's so valuable that you need to get on a call for me to walk you through that. And that is the same thing. That's your case study. You can call it a case study. But for me, it's just like how you're framing this allow you to be way more powerful, way more impactful in your CTA versus, the more regular audit, case study type things.
And then one thing that brought to my mind that it also kind of writes your email too then, because then you could say, hey, like I'm being serious. We really have a framework, and then you can kind of summarize the framework and then say how it, we can hop on a call to see how it applies to your business as well too. But what I really loved about that is because we kind of do get into this trap of saying like, hey, we generated 30% more X for other company, everything. And then when you said that your lead magnet was these frameworks and that the framework was tied, like the only way you were going to talk about the framework was on a call, I was like, because there's so many people who we work with and they don't have lead magnets ready to go. And the other thing is you don't even know if the lead magnet is going to work. And so then for you to invest all this time to make this lead magnet streamlined, and then you don't know if it works. But if you have a framework, you just can, like, it could be a virtual assistant offer. And you could just say, hey, this is how we take 100 applications, whittle it down to 4 people to test. This is how we train them, and this is how we make decisions on who's good and who's not. And then that's how we get one person who's ready to be placed into your business. Whether you want a virtual assistant right now or not, do you want to work through the framework of how we hire offshore talent so you get a really reliable person every time?
Nobody wants to send
way different email than do you just want offshore talent?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so then that applies to any company, because sometimes people will, and I know one of your lead magnets is that you'll build a clay table for free and put 5,000 leads in it.
Yeah.
And then very quickly people are like, but I'm not a services company. I can't just give something away for free. It's like, yes, but you know something about your customer, or you know something about the audience that that they would want to know, or something about your process. And it's so funny. There's somebody viewing this document, which is, I don't even talk about this document. I don't know how these people find it. So
I think at the end, is solve the answer to every single cold email that we're sending, which is, what's in it for me?
Yes.
What's in it for me?
100%. Yeah.
And if you're able to answer that, you're going to have a positive response. And that's all we're trying to do. Those frames, those CDs, that what's in it for me? What should I respond? And it's funny because I'm trying in my best of my abilities to simplify also what kind of response I'm getting from the prospect. And for me, it's only yes. I only wanted to say yes. Because once I have yes, I have permission to do whatever I want after that.
Yeah.
And I want them to answer. I don't want them to, as if it's a problem. I don't want them to ask, oh, is this something that you're being talked about? I was just like, yes. I just want to say yes.
Yes. Yeah. I agree with that. So now we went on a big tangent on how we can get people to respond, and we're going to go more into that as well too. So the thing is then the reason why outbound might take months to make work is because an outbound lead is so much different than an inbound lead.
So hard.
And I found that out. I was running outbound for myself for a really long time, and then we got to a point where I didn't really need to run outbound, but then I started getting afraid, like, oh, what if this inbound gets cut off? And I started running outbound campaigns again. And it was like punched me in the face about how much different an outbound lead was than an inbound lead. And a lot of times when we work with people, they're not prepared for that. And so when we go through all this funnel of like, how can we get people to respond? That's the campaign strategy. And we're going to talk about that way more. How can we get people to book meetings? That's mostly speak to lead type stuff. Like they already said yes. That's mostly just focus on your workflow and just booking them. And then how can we get those people to convert to customers? That's the part that'll punch you in the face. And every business after they get leads has to go through their own journey of figuring that out. What's a good response rate? Sometimes, I hate this on LinkedIn.
I made a post about it.
I saw you made a post. I hate when other outbound agency owners, they will make a post about a campaign that they did, and they sent
500 emails.
Yeah, they sent 500 emails and they got 125 leads, something like that. I used to pay those people to know what they were posting about because I wanted to see what they do. What was the sauce? The amount of times that they were re-engaging old customers, they were reaching out to people who were going to attend an event in 3 days, and they were just emailing people at the event.
Giving gift cards if they respond.
Yeah, giving cards for responses or just these other gimmicky things is really high. And so I think it really inflates what people think a good response rate is. Like we said, 1% is kind of our, like, if you're below 1%, there's a copy issue, there's a list issue, there's an inbox deliverability issue. That's just the fact. And so when it comes to a good response rate, I think we put in the average here of positive responses. What did I even put in here?
Being a person is like, if I'm above 15, I'm doing fine.
15%?
Positive reply rate?
Oh, yeah, positive reply rate. Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. So, yeah, the rate of
Based
all
on
the
the reply?
responses.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's hard because I think there's the industry type, influence in some sense. But I'll tell you, if you anything between 5 to 2, you're doing all right.
Yeah, and so I put in here that the average across all of our customers is for every 350 contacts we reach out to, we get a positive response. Since I have publicly said this, tons of people will come to me and they'll say, well, we want to get to the 350. And it's like, well, okay, you sell a cybersecurity offer to people that they only do their cybersecurity changes every
10 years.
10 years. And it's like, okay, how many people are even in the market for this thing right now? And so this is very much an average number, and it's not an average number of you should be able to get to this, and that means your campaign is average. We work out at the time of this writing, I think we had 30 customers, and now we're at 50 customers. And so it is like the average across all those offers. And so what you need to do, and actually Enzo and we were just talking about this. He had a customer. He is basically getting a great response rate for his customer. and he generated 50 leads for them. And then they said, we can't wait to, increase the email to lead ratio so we could get even more leads. And their TAM has 400,000 easy in it. And
Probably more.
Yeah, they sent way less than 400,000. They had a lot to go. And I talking to him, I was like, man, that stinks, because what are the odds that you're going to increase that email to lead ratio by even 20%? You're already sending a pretty good campaign. If there is a 100% bump in there, it is going to be because the list is so niche that you're not going to be able to run it all year round. What is going to be easier to do? Send more emails, or to write 8 different campaigns and see if something's going to outperform, right? And so I don't know if you have anything about that.
Yeah, I think, well, by the way, I'm still getting hit by prospect or people that saw you things like, well, I want to hit 120 per 350. I'm like, man,
I know, but
it costs $100,000. Come down.
Yeah, it's 350 is the average across offers. Not even like everybody should be hitting that.
And you have clients that get 100 leads like in 3 days. So that's probably also like,
Yes, that's true. So a customer I'm super proud of. We have, in the last 30 days, we have generated 1,019 positive responses.
This is insane.
Is that because I'm an outbound genius, or because have a project management system that follows the guidance on inbox deliverability, and we're pulling lists and we're validating them and they fit their offer? It is 90% the project management side. And I mean, yeah, that script that I wrote them is cracked, and it's not cracked. It's like we tried 20 other experiments and just this one works. One thing I would want to shout out is Taylor Horan will publicly post a lot of things. He will very often come up with this campaign was a 6x. Maybe he's got the magic touch and he's better than me. I don't know. But very often I find that you usually have a campaign, and then you can make that campaign better, and then you can make that campaign better. And then after 2 or 3 iterations of making that campaign better in a scaled way, you're probably better off sending more emails and sticking with your winner. And then yes, of course, if something comes around and you have a great, there's an industry trend happening or something, and you're going to target that, that's fine, but they usually don't last that long. So anyway, that's just my feeling on that. Okay, one thing is I tried to address here why outbound campaigns don't work and what you can do about it. And so what I put here so far was chunking up and down. And so mainly getting really into the weeds about how your solution is different. So if there was an email finder and you were to say, hey, we have an email finder that's super good, here's how it works, or here's the offer, whatever. I think that you could chunk down on the email finder and say, hey, the way we find our leads is, I'm not sure if you know this, but we can validate catch-alls, because if you sign into Gmail and there's no email that exists, it doesn't pass you to the password screen. But if it does exist, it'll pass you to the password screen. We'll get you all the emails that are like that. So I think you could get super specific to show the differentiation in your product, and that's one way to increase your response rates. Or you could chunk up and just talk about the outcome, and you could just say, hey, we helped somebody increase their outbound campaign by 17%. Do you want to know how? And then don't even talk about the email finder until after they respond, because then you're just talking about outcomes instead of just being a commoditized email finder. Yeah. So that's what I mean by chunking up and down.
I do always up, because my belief is that people don't care about features and benefit that much.
So for the email finder example, if somebody sent you that email, you wouldn't be more interested? I'd be more interested. If they could confirm to me that that's exactly how it works, I'd be more interested.
But is it because it's so technical to us? And let me give you an example. I have a good one here. Go back to the 3PL example. One of my clients was one of the 10 3PL that was able to get e-commerce brand into Target. So we were saying, hey, by the way, I see you guys at Walmart, but you got this shop, but you're not at Target. Do you want us to help you get there? Because we're actually one of the only 10 3PL that can get people inside Target. Why am I doing this? I could have talked about, we're going to be more reliable, we're going to be faster than everybody, we're going to be cheaper than everybody, and you're going to get on time and say, hey, where do all the e-commerce stores want to be, and where's the dream? They want to be at Target. I'm going to talk about that.
Yes, that's a great example of chunking up. That's a really, really good example.
I think people would always get way more moved by where they desire to be, where they dream, versus how this features and benefit going to change in day-to-day life. That's just my belief. But
Yeah.
I respect your
No,
opinion.
and so I definitely agree. And so this is another thing with like SEO services. Like you should never email somebody about SEO services. You should literally just talk about the outcome of how you increase revenue, and then talk about the framework of how you increase their revenue, and that'll work way better. The other one is just making them think about their pain differently. So this is just a quick one. I'm not sure if you'll have anything to react to this. I love Josh Braun's cold email.
So good.
I think it's great. So if you send an email in your accounting service and you say, hey, you need to get your taxes done. We can help you. We have a lot of experience doing taxes. Let me know you need help. It's, you're going to get whatever. But in Josh Braun's course, I love that he put this. How do you know your current tax accountant is using every legal loophole to get you as much back from the government as possible?
Saying good.
I love that.
This is sick.
So this making them think about their pain differently. So this is leaning into a couple things. One, it's making them think about the pain differently, but it's also two, leaning into the fact that everybody we're talking to has an account. All right. So instead of saying you can do somebody's work, just say like, what's the main problem of having an accountant? I don't know what they did.
You know what is really interesting? Yeah, you're saying that you don't know what they did, but more importantly, like, you don't want to really talk to them. Like, you just want you to get your thing done. You want to be, I cannot pay less taxes. And you just address that right away. And I think this is actually, I'm having an account offer coming up. I'm probably going to use that.
Yes. Yeah. It's so great. So then the third one is just creating an offer for cold traffic. And I just say, like, when we did a free email deliverability audit, this was the response rate. And you can see the copy if you'd like to read and pause. And then when we said, hey, we have free list, this is the response rate that we're getting on the free list. And then when we said, hey, we can launch a campaign for you for free, this is the response that we got on the free. Yeah. So this is just showing the cold offer. But the one that I think about all the time that I didn't put into this doc is I think about where are your prospects at in the funnel and how can you use cold email to move them forward? Now, very often the CAC on this doesn't work out for working with an agency, so this might be for somebody else. But I was thinking about it. Okay, why do cybersecurity offers not work on cold email?
Because I think people care about it when something happened to them.
Exactly. And so it's like, so now cold email is just reaching out to people and seeing if they're interested in something. They would be much better served if they were to put together a dinner and email CEOs locally and just say, hey, this other cool CEO is going to be there. Do you want to have a dinner at this really nice place? And then get to know people that way and then think of CAC that way. And so another thing is, like, sometimes people want cold emails just to book meetings, and that just might not be totally realistic with your offering, and you need to use it as another place higher up in the funnel. A dinner funnel will always work. A community funnel, so inviting people to a free community, will always work as well too. And then some kind of event thing doesn't work as well as the other things, but it'll still work really well as well. And so that was just another thing that I'm thinking on is sometimes booking a meeting isn't going to work for you, but using cold email somewhere higher in the funnel, and it's cheap enough to do that, just not with an agency, would be better for you. And so
I think you touched on the point. People focus, of course, the goal is a meeting and create revenue and SEO and all that kind of stuff. The goal of Outbound is to get people to respond. That is the first goal of it. You open the door. They say yes, because when a yes is important, because then we don't have deliverability issue to deal with. Like, yes, we have the room, we can connect on LinkedIn, we can send messages. The guys said they're willing to chat with me. And that's why I think, yeah, you're right. We should think in them as a funnel that can open the conversation to anything else. Meetings is obviously the goal, but it's only one way to use it.
Yeah. Here, I put a lot of just email copy and things. Basically, with copywriting, one way that we think up of a lot of variations of copy is, when you think about it, there's only 6 offers in the world. You can only help people save time, save money, make more money, reduce risk, raise their status, or live longer. B2B, we focus on these 4 because living longer is like a gym membership, and then raising their status is like Rolexes or APs if you're, real serious. And so I know maybe there's something to be said here, but we'll go into, actually, let's go over the sequence structure. This is what we've been using, and actually a lot of times we've been cutting it at email 3 as well. But we'll do email 1, net new email 2, threaded to email 1, and then email 3, net new email. And then if we have a 4, we'll thread it to email 3. But I do not follow up in the same thread. And the way we're doing this is, generally it'll say, this is one offer. This is whatever we didn't have time to say in email 1, we'll put it into email 2. And then in email 3, we will, if we were talking about helping them save money or some other value proposition, we'll pivot to another value proposition in email 3. And then in email 4, we'll actually try to see and say, hey, I reached out to you because I thought of this. Is there not somebody else like Maxine that I should be reaching out to instead? And the reason we don't thread them all together is because when I receive emails, one, nobody remembers the email that they received yesterday. So, but when you send me 4 emails threaded together, it just reminds me that you're the person that I didn't respond. Yeah. And so it's just leaving a trail of the fact that you spammed them. And so that's why we cut these. On an overall sequence structure, would you have anything to add to that?
No, actually enlightened me on my. I'm doing the new threaded on email thread as well, but probably should do only 2 at a time. And this is a really good one. The way I do this is that email 1 is my lead magnet. I try to put all the firepower in those. Email 2, I'm trying to stack even more firepower. Email 3 is like Hail Mary, like, hey, this is everything we have. I think it's gonna be great. Or terminer shout out to Maxine.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And then, so using your TAM is just basically, I'm just going to go over this very quickly. If you have 100,000 people in your TAM, you figured out something that works and you want to scale as much as possible, just want to figure out the volume that you can send, that you reuse the list once a quarter is really what you're going after. And not even so much because you're going to, spam them. They're going to remember you and everything, because they won't. But like the only emails that I remember from people who cold email me that I remember are either really good ones or the people that I said unsubscribe and they didn't unsubscribe me. That's the only emails.
I don't know who sent me an email last week.
Yeah, I don't know. So it's not so much about emailing them because you're messaging them too often. It's just nothing has really changed in their business, and you want 3 months to go by to see some kind of change in the business. All right, so now we have some copywriting levers. This is just some things that we created of just, so if you're going through your frameworks and you're thinking, okay, we're going to pitch this offer in a save money offer, a make more money offer, a reduce risk offer, of all these other things. These are just more things that we think about as far as like, how can we also make more variations? So to think deeply about what's in it for them, we've talked about that a lot. So I don't know if there's anything you want to add to that, but we've talked about that a lot. Niche down on your outcome, value, or feature. That was chunking up and down as well. Lead magnet or front end offer. We talked about it a lot. Enzo is the king of that. Let's see, what else? Test before you put a lot of effort in. This is like, I one time had somebody who was like, we're going to create this lead magnet. It's going to take 3 months of engineering time to put it together. Should we do it? I was like, maybe. Like, let's come up with a way that you can test it and see if it'll work. Straight line to cash. I sometimes see people making lead magnets that don't actually produce revenue for them. So you want to make sure any lead magnet you do, like I was talking to a chocolate company. This is a perfect example of how changing your CTA can change things a little bit. They were like, we're getting great responses there. We're getting like 6% responses. I was like, why are you even talking to me? Like, go forth. Yeah, go forth and keep doing that. And then he said, well, we're emailing people and we're saying, hey, we've got this chocolate company. We do X, Y, Z. Could I send you some free chocolate? And I was like, oh, of course. And he's like, we can't book any of the things. I was like, of course, man. Like, you lost your firepower. So then all we said was, hey, man, just change it to, hey, we've got a really platform that's really accessible to B2B companies. When we get together and I show it to you, I'll show you how easy it is by sending you a free chocolate basket. Nice. And so it's like, tying it to the call.
Oh, I have so much sauce.
Hit the sauce.
There's so much sauce to give.
So, oh my God. Oh.
You guys have so lucky because I'm feeling in a good mood today. So, okay, I'm just trying to think if I got, it's legal, I can say it. So the way we're doing this as well, and which is really interesting, is like, I like to send free samples as part of the lead magnet. How do I get to respond? We call it on the phone. We talked about it on the phone. How do I get people to respond or to actually get on a call before we send anything? Is like, same thing. Hey, we have free chocolate, or we have this thing. Do you want it? Oh, yeah, sure. Cool. And then we responding, is it the right address? And we purposely make a mistake in the address. And so they can correct us. And then we responding, oh, okay, just to make sure that we have everything right. Let's jump on a call so I can review your order and make sure I have nothing wrong and everything happened. But because they know that, oh, they're going to send me something for free, they're like, wow, this is not going to cost me anything to jump on a call.
Yeah.
Just to make sure everything's right. They already did a mistake with the address.
That's interesting.
And then they jump on it, and then they use that to actually qualify and then decide whether or not
that's really interesting. Now, that reminds me of something else, because sometimes people come to us and they say, we should be getting 20% response rates overall. And it's like, okay, I don't know where you heard that from. That just reminds me of Guillaume Cabane, the guy who was the Outbound expert for Yeah, ramp and then segment, and he's just I really like the stuff that he puts out. One time they ran an experiment, and I put it in the doc somewhere, but I just want to what you said just reminded me. They ran an experiment where they said, "Hey, we're going to give you a free gift," and then they would make the address 10 numbers wrong. So if it was like 100 Park Avenue, they would make it 110 Park Avenue. And so then they were doing this to see, okay, everybody should respond. Why would you not respond to this email? We're going to send you a free gift. Just confirm your address. That campaign got like an 11% response rate. And so it kind of showed me that there's like a limit to like a response rate based on email. But anyway, all right, outcome-based case study messaging. I'm switching this. I've learned from Enzo, and we've all learned that we need to add in frameworks in here for sure. Let's see. Oh, so here I'm just sharing examples of how we could cold email people with screenshots of successful things that we've done for our customers. Paid messaging, poke the bear. You should read that with Josh Braun. Direct offer messaging. This is fine. Everybody should probably read this. I'm trying to think of, is there anything that you keep in mind? So we have trigger messaging. So what messaging? Is there anything you keep in mind when you're, I don't want to run through all these. When you're writing campaigns, you said, oh, let's try this other angle.
There's always something that I do when I'm greeting new customers and new partners is that, and I don't know what you think about it, curious to your opinion, but when people tell me who's their time, and when you're looking at who's paying for the bills, it's tend to be two different type of people.
Mm.
And, yeah, and I'm like, initially I'm like, oh, we these are customers, best customers, and I'm like, hold on, give me the last 120 days of closed one. Let me see the close call. Let me see the discovery call. And we use that to see what people ask that question. What is their worry? And that we use that to understand like what people are coming from, what they're worried about, what they're really interested in. And we tend, I'm doing that on my team, they hate me for that, but I make them watch also like the recording because you can often see in the eyes of the prospect the aha moment when they get it.
Yes.
And then what happened? What question did they ask? What the sales rep said? What the prospect said? And that usually will allow you to understand, okay, this is where I need to dig to actually probably come up with something.
Yes. Okay. I really like. That's true. That's really yeah. That's really really good. I'm trying to think of anything else. This is just all like email variations that I think everybody should just read through this. I just tried to come up with as many ways that you could think about campaigns and angles that you could take. So the big thing I would say, I used to be super big on this hypothesis on finding message market fit, which I'm always bad about capitalizing things. I guess that should be capitalized. So the first time I ever heard about message market fit, I'm pretty sure I have to give credence to either Kellen or Jordan Crawford to the fact that they came up with it. I used to be really big on this, that I would run every customer through. The first batch we're going to do is lookalike targeting with AI generated copy. And then the second batch we're going to do is testing triggers. And then the next one is going to be messaging templates with different angles. And then we'll do non-scalable things in batch 4 as well too. What I've actually found that probably one or two of these things really move the needle, and it's more based on your offer more than anything else. And so if you try a lookalike targeting campaign and you say, hey, we have this great case study, this is what we did for the case study, go target other people that are like that case study, that's a great one to start off with. Sure. Everyone should be doing that. When we're testing triggers, honestly, you could have your own custom triggers. Again, if you can answer that question, what would I research about this company for 10 minutes and then work backwards from that? Like Google reviews of people saying that their packages are arriving late. Great. That's something you should go with. Right off the bat, reaching out to people who are new in their role, probably the trigger that everybody should be starting with as well too. And so I found that we were actually overcomplicating this a lot, and that's why we shifted to the free test, because I thought that all of these things could give you a scientific hypothesis on how to have the best chance of making sure that a campaign would work. And we actually found that we were doing a lot of fancy things that didn't matter, and just messaging the offer to the right people with the lookalike stuff and the new and old role thing was the biggest thing. And then after that, you could see if it resonated or if it didn't, and save our customers' time and save our time as well. And so I don't actually really believe in this hypothesis as much anymore, because like I said, you really should be able to run an outbound campaign and then get responses and then tweak it and get more. If you run an outbound campaign and you're getting 0 responses and try 3, 4 different things, you need to be thinking about changing your list or changing your offer. I'm not sure if you have an opinion, specifically when you onboard customers, about how you work through this.
Man, I was like, They would tell me, so how many campaign are we going to do? How many angles and you know how my steak gonna get cooked? And I'm like, before I was like, oh, we're gonna do 6 different type of campaign, lookalike, lead magnets. We're gonna do social listening. We're gonna do like website. And at the end of the day, most of the time, what's your case studies? Okay, the way I'm thinking about case studies is really simple. If you have a case studies with, I don't know, Nike, cool. I'm gonna figure out everybody else that is in the apparel or footwear or anything, and I'm like, hey, those guys would like to be like Nike one day. Cool. This is what we did for the guy you are aiming to be one day. And by the way, do you want it what we did for them? We're gonna give it to you for free. That's solved most of my problem. That get like, to be honest, 80% of all the responses that we need or the result that we're getting for a customer, there's always edge cases about, okay, like there's something happening, and then we try different things. But as I said, like lookalikes is usually the good thing to go, and then how do I relate to the offer? You know, I don't know. There's always something, but yeah, I was trying to complex things, and usually it's always the same.
Yeah, totally agreed. And so again, that's why we launched free tests, because we felt that we could just cut through the noise a little bit more. When you're prompting AI, big thing, again, what would you research about your customers for 10 minutes, and how would that change your message?
If you have insane prompting, like you sent me a dog the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I give it to Harvey, and he looked at like, I'm not even prompting it. As close as that.
See, what's so funny is, so there's 2 hacks to prompting. I feel like one is you got to get some kind of voice to text dictation service. I'm using Whisperflow right now, but you got to do something, because you're going to type and it's just going to hold you back from actually putting in all the things that you should do. And then just asking ChatGPT to make a prompt for you also works really well.
Works really well.
Yeah, there are some things that work with AI prompting that are so odd that, like, if you ask it, hey, you know, take as much time as you need, but just remember, if you get this wrong, I'm gonna get fired. So I really need you to be like, I don't know why.
My life is on the line.
Yeah, I don't know why that makes a difference, but anyway, so this is just our framework for how we prompt AI. The big thing I would say when I look at people's AI prompts is they're not giving enough examples. And so examples is something that you could do where you say, like, this is the prompt. But if you think about the ChatGPT interface, you can put into the API call and say, like, given this input, this is what I want the output to look like. And given this input, this is what I want the output to look like. And then run it after that. And I think if you're creating one sentence, you need at least 2 examples. And if you're creating something longer than a sentence, you need 4 examples. And if you're doing industry classification, you need like 6, 7 examples in there. And so that's just a new prompting rule that we've created since I made this.
And always beg to listen to you.
Yeah. This is just a bunch of examples of, honestly, AI generated things to give you examples, things that you can do. And a lot of these I probably wouldn't even do anymore because they're so old that, this company analogy thing, I just wouldn't suggest anybody does that. This will still work really well.
I haven't used your company analogy before. Look, bro.
Did it work well?
Yeah, really.
It never worked well for me. So the way I can tell that it never worked well is because nobody ever complimented it. Because when we send a good AI generated line, people would be like, oh, thank you so much for finally sending me a great email. Yeah, and nobody ever said anything about it.
Okay, interesting.
Huh, all right. Did this, and then that isn't even, there's somebody who made that. I'm so sorry.
Local restaurant call out, still doing it to this day.
Local restaurant call out?
Yeah.
That one is like, Jordan Crawford hates me for that one.
What?
He hates this one, but I like this a lot.
I think for like local service-based businesses, it feels like more local.
That
people, they want to feel like, oh, like who's this guy?
Yeah.
My wife been there. We love it.
Yeah. When we do deal sourcing campaigns, sometimes people will respond to this as the PS line and not to the email. And they'll literally just respond back to us and they're like, oh, I love that steakhouse. I was there the other day. And I'm like, oh, but do you want to sell your company?
Do you want to sell your company?
Yeah. Like, so yeah, I love this one. Jordan Crawford hates me for this. A case for using GPT to write your emails. This is just one case. I have a whole post about this. We were running this campaign and it just is just a perfect example of how Clay was able to increase the positive response rates for a custom. This was actually for instantly.ai. And we tried a ton of common things that people think that they should trying. And the AI generated messaging beat out the technographic integration campaign, the super short messaging, doing a lookalike campaign. And then it also beat out founders that didn't have a sales team, and it beat out newly hired VPs of sales as well. So This is a little thing. I said the trigger of the year last year was built by Trigify for social listening. Still works to this day. I would agree with that. These are just some ideas that you can use to invalidate cold email as a channel that's just not going to work for you. I'm not sure if you have anything to say about that.
If you have less than 30,000 people in your town, don't go email.
Yeah, you should.
To proper manually call it direct mail, LinkedIn outreach, but don't.
So we ran some experiments, and so we said domains and what they look like, and it turned out that it didn't matter. This person closed a huge deal just from our Camille at like Invictus emails, so it doesn't matter. And in the space that they're in, they need like certifications, and there's got to be a lot of trust and things, and nobody mattered. And they closed the deal with Korean Airlines.
This is crazy.
Yeah, so like the domains don't matter. Likely to engage versus random leads from Apollo. I've never seen this make a difference. Yeah, okay, agreed. Calendar links versus requests for meetings. I'm interested what you think about this.
I have a strong opinion on this.
Every time we add a calendar link, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to suggest 2 times. We suggest 2 times a day, and you suggest 2 days per time. So suggest 2 times per day, and then that's what we do. We don't
different, right? It's not just Tuesday or Thursday at 10 or 2 p.m. It's like Tuesday at 10 and 3 or Thursday at 11 and 2.
Yeah. That's what works for the best for us. And we don't get response because I think people feel it's lazy.
Yes.
I think they would rather send theirs.
Yeah.
Or so we search out. Well, by the way, send me your calendar if none of those time works.
Yeah. Oh yes. Yeah. When you request a meeting, does it matter how long you ask for? Asking for 7 minutes versus 15 minutes versus 30 minutes? I actually have never seen this make.
I don't think.
Yeah.
And I see those guys. Oh yeah, I'll only gonna take like 8.5 minutes of your time.
Yeah.
Don't do anything to me.
So basic subject lines versus other subject lines. I know people love to hate on quick question or a question for first name or some of these very common subject lines. They're very common because they work. And if you don't have a subject line that's beating the common ones, like I would love for you to have a subject line that beats the common ones, but sometimes you just can't make that. And so some of these common ones will outperform your best ideas.
Quick question is the best thing for us.
Yeah. And so there's that. We try to make it 2 to 3 words that somebody, a customer or colleague would have reached out to them for. And then we try to make the preview text look like it's possible that it's just a regular email coming to them. So that's another thing. Sending at different times during the day. Sometimes we get asked about this. I know that sending on Friday afternoon and Monday morning is not great, but other than that, it doesn't really matter. I love adding PS lines. I still like that.
I'm sending 7 days a week.
Yeah, so you told me to send 7 days a week, and
Only to founders and CEO.
Yeah, but we got a drop off in responses when we did that. So are you tracking like? Do you get the same amount of responses on Saturday?
Oh, I'm still getting responses. That's kind of what I'm trying to get. Like, I'm not gonna get like the same volume, but I'm gonna get like if I get like 7 in a day on not on Friday, it's always lower. So like 7 or 5 on the day of the week, and I get like maybe 3 or 4 during the weekend per day. Like that's fine for me.
Okay, cool, interesting. So some future of cold email stuff. So email deliverability. I changed my opinion on this when I talked vicariously through somebody else about that Google Account Manager and the fact that they care way more about phishing than cold email, which makes a lot of sense. I've already been speaking to sending platforms that mimic human behavior. So if we have to go there, we'll go there. I believe that data costs are going to start approaching 0. And AI agents are going to be here to stay. I mean, Claycom has been absolutely insane ever since we've been doing things. Doing work for free. Patrick Spilchowski just created a Clay table that automatically created a web app using Lovable via the API and like a bunch of things. Like this is just happening more and more. Evolving role of SDRs. I think if it can be automated, it'll be taken off their plate and they'll just be focusing on things that they actually have to be doing. I think age domains are going to make a big difference. I don't know, any other like future of cold email things that you would think about?
No, AI agents is a real deal.
Yeah.
But not AI SDR.
Yeah. Well, so let's talk about that. Why do you think AI SDRs aren't going to work, even though we're kind of like a version of some of these AI SDRs?
Because you still have to think like a human. They don't, like these things that, how would an AI SDR would think about, I'm going to make a typo in the email address I'm sending because then they're going to correct me and then I'm going to take these opportunities to get on a call. Yeah. That thinking like because you have to think like a human.
Yeah.
And that thing, I don't think AI would have
Well, so I
this
think
level of taking, like the forward message we were talking last night on our way over,
yeah.
like how you would approach that thing. We know.
Yeah. So I also think that when we were building Clay, when I worked there, if there was ever an option between picking something that would make something more flexible for the users or easier to use, we picked flexibility every time, which is now the biggest complaint, but also the biggest power of Clay. That's where I think the AI SDRs go wrong, is they feel like they found a playbook and they want to stuff everybody into that playbook that works, but you really need much more flexibility than that.
Yeah.
I think they'll nail it one day because, so the real problem with AI SDRs, in my opinion, more than anything, is they make a promise that they can do outbound for anybody, and we know as service providers, we can't do outbound for everybody, and you're not going to be successful every time.
No matter how much money you're willing to pay me, I would not take cybersecurity. So
I would never take cybersecurity ever again. Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's more of the issue is
the overpromise.
the overpromise. Yeah. Because they're making it sound like, oh, there's one AI SDR company that they posted, they were like, all of our customers got 700 meetings in in whatever, and I was like, I got 1,000 positive responses. Oh, in the past 30 days, and I was like, I got 1,000 positive responses for one person. What are you talking about? And so it's really got to ratchet up a little bit more. But anyway, now we've been doing this for an hour and 20 minutes. Any final thoughts that you want to make sure that we all
fun.
Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this. If you made it all the way here, I super appreciate you. I hope you found this valuable. I wish I could say that Enzo and I can do this all the time, but Enzo lives on the other side of the world, so maybe we could do a Riverside thing if people like this.
We're gonna do it in. Let's do it in September.
Oh yes, yeah. We can do it again in September. We'll get another video for everybody. Thanks so much for watching, and I guess this is the time I should say subscribe. But thanks so much for watching. Bye,
guys. Cheers.